trust in Allah, the secret of true strength in life, we often find ourselves standing in moments that feel like the Battle of Hunain, times when we believe our numbers, our experience, our plans, or our possessions will save us. We count what we have instead of remembering who we have. But just like the Muslims at Hunain learned, there comes a time when Allah reminds us that true victory, true success, true peace come only from trusting Him completely. When the Muslim army marched towards Hunain, were 12,000 strong, more than ever before. The air was filled with confidence. They thought this battle would be easy. But the arrows of the enemy, hidden in the mountains, brought them face to face with a truth that would echo through time. Numbers don't win battles, faith does. In our daily lives, this truth is just as real. Think about how often we rely on our own strength. A businessman trusts his money and experience more than his prayers. A student depends only on his knowledge, forgetting that success is written by the one who gives memory and understanding. A person fighting illness depends only on doctors, forgetting that healing flows from the will of Allah. We walk into our own valleys of Hunain every day, confident in what we have, till life hits us with an unexpected arrow. It's in those moments of shock and fear that our hearts are tested. When all our plans fall apart, when friends disappear, when health fades, and when doors close, we realize that the one who never leaves us is Allah. Just as the Prophet stood firm when others ran, we too must stand firm with faith when the world around us trembles. Trusting Allah doesn't mean sitting idle or ignoring effort. It means doing our best, studying, working, planning, trying, but with the certainty that results belong to Allah. It means letting go of the illusion of control and accepting even if we lose something, there's a divine wisdom behind it. Every delay, every loss, every no, it's a way for Allah to redirect us toward something better, even if we can't see it yet. The story of Hunain tells us that Allah sometimes lets us feel weakness so that we can rediscover where real strength lies. When Muslims were scattered and confused, it was not because they were weak in number, it was because their hearts momentarily leaned towards their own power. The moment they turned back, called out to Allah, regrouped under the Prophet, victory descended. This same principle breathes through every struggle in life. A mother raising her children alone might feel she can't do it. But when she trusts Allah, He sends unseen help. Young man chasing his dreams may face countless rejections. But when he believes that Allah's timing is perfect, he finds peace even in waiting. A person who has lost someone dear may feel their world has ended, but when they remember that every soul returns to its Creator, their pain turns into patience and their tears into prayer. Trusting Allah transforms fear into courage. It turns confusion into clarity. It turns loss into learning. It changes how we see everything. Because when you believe that Allah is with you, you stop worrying about who is against you. You stop counting problems and start counting blessings. You stop asking, why me? And start saying, try me, Ya Allah, because I know you're with me. Look around. Every sunrise is proof that darkness doesn't last forever. Every drop of rain shows that even the sky needs to weep before it blossoms again. Every seed buried under the soil reminds us that even when we feel buried by hardship, it's not the end. It's preparation for growth. That's what trust in Allah does. It allows you to breathe in hope when the air feels heavy with fear. The Prophet didn't lose scattered. When his army was scattered, he didn't shout in anger or retreat in doubt. He simply stood firm, called upon his Lord, and reminded everyone, I am the prophet, no lie, am the son of Abdul Muttalib. That moment of unshakable faith became a spark that reignited the hearts of the believers. They turned back, rejoined the fight, and Allah granted them victory. Every one of us has that same spark inside, the ability to trust Allah even when everything seems lost. You don't need the world to believe in you when the creator of the world believes in your potential. When you say, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil, Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs, you are not surrendering in defeat. You are rising in divine strength. So the next time life feels like a battlefield, when you lose a job, when your plans fail, when your friends disappear, or when your dreams collapse, remember Hunain. Remember that faith begins where your power ends. When you place your trust in Allah, He gives you something far greater than what you were chasing. He gives you peace, purpose, and unseen victory. Trust in Allah isn't a lesson from history. It's a light for every day of our lives. It's the calm in chaos, the hope in despair, the strength in weakness, and the courage to keep moving forward. Because when you walk with Allah, no valley of Hunain can ever defeat you. Faith conquers fear. There comes a moment in every person's life when fear tries to steal their peace, fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of the unknown. It whispers in our minds that we are not enough, that our strength will run out, that our dreams are too big, our problems are too heavy. But faith, real faith, has the power to silence that whisper. It teaches the heart to say, my Lord is with me. He will guide me through. That is the essence of what the Battle of Hunain taught humanity. That faith is the sword that cuts through fear. When the Muslim army entered the Valley of Hunain, they were confident in their numbers. 12,000 strong, believed the battle was already won. But when arrows began raining down from hidden enemy positions, confusion spread. Dust filled the air, and the sound of fear replaced the sound of courage. Many started to retreat, not because they were weak, but because fear blinded their faith. And in that moment of chaos, one man stood firm. The Prophet Muhammad, he didn't run, didn't waver, didn't doubt. He raised his voice and declared, I am the prophet, no lie! I am the son of Abdul Muttalib. That one voice of faith overpowered the fear of thousands. This is what happens in our lives too. When everything seems to collapse, when fear surrounds us, the strength of one heart that believes in Allah can change everything. Faith doesn't erase fear, it overcomes it. It teaches us that even when the path is dark, there is light waiting for those who keep walking with trust. Think of a student standing before a tough exam. The fear of failure can freeze the mind, but faith whispers, do your best. Allah will handle the rest. Think of a father trying to provide for his family, uncertain about tomorrow. Fear tells him to give up, but faith tells him that the provider never forgets his servants. Think of a woman going through heartbreak. Fear tells her she will never heal, but faith assures her that Allah never breaks a heart without planning to fill it with something greater. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the courage to walk through it knowing Allah walks with you. It's like a child holding his parent's hand in a storm. The thunder is still loud. The wind is still fierce. But the hand that holds his makes him feel safe. That's what faith does. It holds your trembling heart and whispers, you are never alone. At Hunain, the Muslims' fear didn't vanish because the danger disappeared. It vanished because their faith returned. When they heard the Prophet's voice calling them back, they remembered who they were. The people of La ilaha illa Allah, the believers who stood with the messenger of Allah, That remembrance revived their courage. The same army that had scattered moments before came together again and won a battle they thought was lost. In life, fear often makes us forget who we are. It makes us see the mountain and forget the one who created it. Makes us see the darkness and forget the one who controls the light. But faith brings back the truth that no storm can drown you if Allah has written safety for you. No failure can break you if Allah has written success for you. And no pain can destroy you if Allah has hidden a blessing inside it. Every time you feel fear rise inside you, remember that Allah has already promised, do not fear, for I am with you. When the Prophet A and his companions stood in Badr, when they faced enemies in Uhud, when they entered the Valley of Hunain, that promise never failed them, and it will never fail you either. Fear says, what if I fall? Faith answers, what if Allah makes me fly? Fear says, I can't do this. Faith replies, with Allah, all things are possible. A fear makes you freeze, faith makes you move. Fear drains your heart, faith fills it with hope. Fear looks at the problem, faith looks at the solution. Fear focuses on the enemy, faith focuses on the Creator. The moment you shift your eyes from what frightens you to the one who protects you, everything changes. Sometimes Allah allows fear to visit your heart so that you can learn to replace it with faith. Just as He tested the believers at Hunain, He tests us in our lives not to break us, but to remind us of our strength in Him. You can't learn to swim if the water is always calm. You can't discover courage if life never scares you. Every challenge, every hardship, every trembling moment is an opportunity to let faith lead the way. So when life throws its arrows, when betrayal hurts, when finances crumble, when prayers seem unanswered, or when the world feels heavy, remember Hunain. Remember the moment when the storm of fear was silenced by the voice of faith. Stand firm like the Prophet did. Call upon Allah with certainty that He hears, He sees, and He never abandons those who trust Him. Faith conquers fear because faith reminds the heart that there is no power, no strength, and no safety except with Allah. The heart that truly believes in that can walk through fire and still find peace, can lose everything and still smile, face giants and still stand tall. Because when faith takes over, fear becomes just an echo in the distance, a sound that can't reach a heart that has already said, Hasbunallah huwa ni'mal wakil, unity and obedience. The foundation of victory. There is a powerful beauty in unity, a strength that cannot be measured by numbers or weapons. When hearts beat together, when minds share one purpose, and when people stand side by side in trust and discipline, miracles happen. The Battle of Hunain was not only a test of faith, it was also a divine lesson on unity and obedience. The Muslims began that battle in confusion and chaos, but they ended it in harmony and triumph. And that transformation carried a message for every generation to come. When believers unite under one purpose and obey the truth, even mountains bow before them. At the beginning of Hunain, the large Muslim army entered the valley feeling confident, even proud. But when the enemy ambushed them from the cliffs, their formation broke, people began to scatter, each one thinking of himself, trying to survive. For a moment, unity disappeared. In that moment, strength vanished too. Fear replaced faith, and disorder replaced courage. But then, amidst the dust and panic, one voice called out, the voice of the Prophet Muhammad A. He did not shout in anger or panic. His call was filled with calm authority and divine power. He said, I am the Prophet, no lie. I am the son of Abdul Muttalib. Hearing those words, Hazrat Abbas, Rave, called to the believers, O companions of the tree, "Oh, and Sar?" And that call awakened the sleeping courage within them. The same soldiers who had fled moments ago turned back. They regrouped around the prophet shoulder to shoulder, heart to heart. In that unity, they found strength again. What had been a scattered crowd became a single force of faith, disciplined, obedient, and unbreakable. That was the moment the battle turned in their favor. Life teaches us the same lesson again and again. Unity and obedience bring strength, while division brings weakness. In our homes, workplaces, and communities, the principle remains the same. A family that argues, blames, refuses to listen, loses peace, no matter how much wealth it has. But a family that stands together in respect and understanding can face any storm. A team that listens to its leader and supports each other can achieve impossible goals. A nation that remains united in purpose can rise above every challenge. Unity is not just about standing together physically. It's about aligning hearts. It means learning to silence pride, ego, and personal desire for the sake of a greater good. It means respecting leadership, trusting the process, and walking in one direction, even when you don't see the full destination yet. The companions at Hunain learned that the moment they returned to the prophet, victory followed. Their unity under his command was not weakness. It was the secret to their strength. Obedience, too, is not about losing freedom. It's about finding direction. A river flows beautifully because it follows its path. The moment it breaks away, it floods and destroys. In the same way, a believer's strength lies in obedience. Obedience to Allah, to truth, to wisdom, and to the voice of justice. When people obey their leader in righteousness, they move together as one body, just as the companions did. Every heart beats with the same rhythm. Every hand lifts with the same purpose. That harmony is what transforms struggle into success. In our daily lives, unity and obedience can turn ordinary moments into blessings. When colleagues at work cooperate and trust each other, projects succeed. When friends support one another with sincerity instead of jealousy, everyone grows. When children obey their parents with love, homes fill with barakah. Even in worship, unity is sacred. When believers stand shoulder to shoulder in prayer, all facing one direction, symbolizes the same truth strength comes when hearts and actions move together for Allah's sake. Disunity, on the other hand, is like cracks in a wall. No matter how tall it stands, one storm can break it. The enemies of Islam during Hunain knew that if they could divide the Muslims, they could defeat them. But when the Muslims reconnected, when their hearts united under the Prophet, their enemies were powerless. That lesson remains timeless. No force can destroy a people who are united by purpose and guided by truth. Think about how often people let small differences separate them: pride, opinions, envy, or hurt feelings. Communities collapse, friendships fade, and families suffer, not because of great battles, but because hearts drift apart. True victory begins when we learn to forgive, to listen, to respect, and to stand together again. Unity doesn't mean everyone is the same. It means everyone values the same purpose, just as every companion had a different role. Some fought, some protected, some guided. They all shared the same goal: to raise the word of Allah. When you walk with people who share your values, who remind you of Allah, who support your dreams with sincerity, you are already halfway to success. Surround yourself with unity, you'll find peace. Obey Allah's commands, and you'll find clarity. The Prophet once said, "The believer to another believer is like a building. Each part supports the other." That's what unity is. Not competition, but connection. At Hunain, unity turned defeat into victory. In life, it can turn despair into hope. When we work together, love each other for the sake of Allah, and stay obedient to the truth, even when it's difficult, we attract the help of Allah, the same help that descended upon the companions in that valley of dust and arrows. So whenever you face challenges in your family, your work, your friendships, remember Hunain. Remember that disunity weakens and obedience strengthens. When hearts align, miracles happen. When you move together with faith and discipline, no setback can hold you down. Unity is not just a strategy, it's a spiritual force. When you walk united, obedient, and sincere, victory in this world and the next becomes your destiny. Arrogance and overconfidence lead to defeat, one of the greatest lessons life teaches, and one that was written forever in the story of the Battle of Hunain, is that arrogance and overconfidence can destroy even the strongest among us. Doesn't matter how much power, wealth, talent, or experience you have, the moment pride enters your heart, you begin to fall. True strength lies not in saying, I can do everything, but in whispering with humility, nothing happens without Allah. At Hunain, the Muslims had just achieved one of the greatest victories in history, the conquest of Makkah. The light of Islam had spread across the land, and their numbers were larger than ever before. 12,000 believers, united and equipped, marched with confidence. Some among them felt, perhaps for the first time, that they were unbeatable. They thought no army could overpower them. But Allah wanted to remind them that victory never comes from numbers or weapons. It comes from faith and humility. And so, as soon as they entered the valley, the arrows of the enemy came like a storm. In moments, their confident steps turned into retreating feet. The same people who believed they could not lose suddenly felt fear and confusion. That day was not just a battle of swords, it was a battle of hearts. Allah allowed them to taste fear so that arrogance would melt away. They would return to humility, and when they remembered who their true helper was, when they turned their hearts back to Allah, victory returned. This story repeats itself in our daily lives. Whenever we start to think we've made it on our own, life gives us a gentle, or sometimes painful, reminder. A businessman becomes proud of his success and begins to believe it's because of his intelligence alone. Suddenly, a market crash wipes everything out. A student feels so confident that they stop studying properly. They know it all, and then they fail. A person in good health becomes careless, believing nothing can harm them until a small illness humbles them. These are not punishments, they are lessons, soft reminders from Allah to keep us grounded. Arrogance blinds the heart. It makes you forget the very source of your blessings. It tricks you into thinking you are self-sufficient, when in truth every breath, every step, and every heartbeat comes only by the will of Allah. When a person forgets that, walk towards defeat, not always in war, but in life, relationships, and purpose. Overconfidence can look like strength. It's actually weakness dressed in pride. It tells you that you don't need advice, that you're always right, others are beneath you. But the moment you start believing that, you stop learning, and the moment you stop learning, you start falling. Even the strongest buildings collapse when their foundations are built on pride. Humility, on the other hand, what keeps the soul standing tall. It doesn't mean you think less of yourself. It means you recognize your blessings as gifts, not as personal achievements. The Prophet Muhammad was the greatest leader, the most successful reformer, the beloved of Allah, yet his heart was full of humility. After every victory, he bowed his head in gratitude, not pride. When he entered Makkah as a conqueror, he lowered his head so much that his forehead nearly touched his camel's saddle. A gesture that showed the world that true greatness is found in humility. In daily life, humility attracts success the way flowers attract sunlight. People are drawn to those who are kind, respectful, and grounded. A humble teacher inspires more students than a proud one. A humble leader earns more loyalty than an arrogant boss. A humble friend wins more hearts than a self-centered one. The world may celebrate arrogance for a moment. History remembers humility forever. Look at nature. It reflects the same truth. The trees that bear fruit bend low, while empty branches stand tall. The rivers that flow quietly nourish everything they touch, while the loud storms only bring destruction. In the same way, people who carry humility bring peace wherever they go, while the proud often leave behind hurt and chaos. At Hunain, the lesson was cleared. When arrogance entered, defeat followed. When humility returned, victory came. The companions learned that day that confidence must always walk hand in hand with faith. Confidence without humility is like a sword without balance. It harms more than it helps. But confidence rooted in gratitude and trust in Allah becomes unstoppable. So when you succeed in studies, work, family, or faith, pause and thank Allah. When people praise you, remind yourself that it is Allah who gave you the ability. When you rise, remember those still climbing. When you speak, speak with kindness, not with superiority. When you win, celebrate quietly in gratitude, not loudly in pride. Arrogance makes you think you are the center of the world. Humility reminds you that you are a servant of the one who created it. Arrogance says, I did it. Humility says, Allah made it possible. Arrogance says, I don't need help. Humility says, without Allah, I am nothing. Life always honors those who stay humble. Even when no one sees it, Allah does. And when Allah loves someone's humility, He lifts them higher than they ever imagined. So don't fear being small in the eyes of people. Fear becoming proud in the eyes of Allah. The lesson of Hunain still echoes through time. The moment pride rises, blessings fall. But when humility takes its place, success follows like a shadow. Never forget, every victory comes from the one above, and every defeat is a reminder to return to Him. When your heart bows before Allah, no failure can break you, and no success can corrupt you. For the one who walks humbly with faith will always rise, not just in this world, but in the eternal world beyond.